Doc, what do you think they have to do to take care of business here?
Yeah, well, Queens is really going to have to come out firing on all cylinders. I don't think they can let Alberta get the jump on because Alberta is so strong when they get rolling. But Alberta, they definitely have a lot of firepower from the front court as well as the back row. They bring in the pipe attack, they bring in the C ball, and they use them super well. So you know that Queens has got to be watching video very closely, trying to find the best blocking matchups. They've really got to be on their game. Queens, though, also a very emotional team. I mean that in a good way. They get very fired up and they can get rolling on points too. So they got to try and take that enthusiasm and really establish their game early on.
You can see some of the All-Canadians. That's Sam Cooper of McMaster. Just a quick comment about the first game, Emily, that the 7 seed upsetting the 2 seed. But as I said, it's been a strange year really in Ontario. They had a pause in games. Canada West got to play a full schedule. Do you think that played a role?
Well, I think absolutely, particularly in the case of Calgary. This is a team that has really come on strong the second half of the season. They've built on those strengths through their matches and through their play that they had through January. So I definitely think that's a disadvantage to some other parts of the USPORTS League. But, it's always a bit of a guessing game when you bring these conferences together, exactly how they're going to line up when they haven't played. And this is the first national championship that we are seeing since 2019. So who are we to even say we don't have those other years to even back up, what a team is bringing to the court. So just a lot of unknowns. And so when you're looking at a number 2 seed, for example, versus a number 7 seed, it certainly isn't as lopsided as maybe those numbers would suggest.
More award winners here, and I guess you make a great point about this being the first time in a couple years that this championship has been awarded. And boy, I mean, you take a look on the court, and I just think it's great to see that we are getting to a semblance of normalcy, and we're getting to see these great players compete. Because I mean, you played the game. 5 years can go by awfully quickly.
It goes by very, very quickly. I certainly feel for those athletes that lost out on years of their playing. We've had athletes that are showing up as rookies when they're not true rookies because they've been sitting out for a couple years. We had other athletes that finished their schooling and never got to play their final year or two, and so graduated out without using all their full eligibility. So this is obviously, the word unprecedented has been thrown around plenty, and it certainly pertains to what these athletes have been facing.
You can see people here in Investors Group Athletic Center rising for the national anthem, and then we will be ready to go. Queens and Alberta. You can see some Queens support that is in the crowd, and I've been to many national championships, not necessarily volleyball, but some of the best parts, Emily, are about, meeting people who come and travel from other universities and out of conference. It's a real kind of gathering of people, isn't it?
Absolutely. And for Queens in particular, they have a little bit of home crowd support. Shane Gable, a third-year player for Queens, is from Winnipeg. And in fact, back in 2020, they only canceled the Nationals just the night before the quarterfinals were supposed to take place. So the teams had already traveled to Winnipeg only to find out that the Nationals would be canceled due to COVID. So Queens was here. They had qualified. They had won the OUA that year. And Shane was looking forward to playing in front of his home crowd, only to have that ripped away, of course, in 2020. But he gets the chance now. So he's definitely got some family in the stands cheering on the Queens side.
And Shane Gable also earned first-team All-Canadian honors as well. A good look at the Alberta Golden Bears in looks like black with green, and Queens in yellow. A quick look at the starters for Queens. Number 1, Cole Duncanson. Number 4, Eric Sixna. Number 5, Shane Gable. Number 9, Lucas Kaufman. Number 11, Derek Chiang. Number 16, Ben Moffitt. Number 18, Dax Tompkins for Alberta. Billy Johnston, number 3. Jordan Cannon, number 4. Cam Kerr, number 5. Max Elgert, number 7. Landon Curry, number 11. Graydon Weeb is number 12. And Isaac Hesslinger is number 17 as we take a look at these guys. Boy, what goes through players' minds as they approach, game time? You have to think of unfamiliar court, nerves, a whole lot of emotions.
Absolutely, but more than anything, just excitement. It's so huge just to make it to the Nationals. It's such a long road to try and get there in Canada West. There were weekend after weekend of playoffs trying to come out ahead in what was a new playoff format. Canada West, due to COVID this year, they broke down into smaller conferences and therefore didn't get to play each other as much as they normally would. So they were facing those unknowns through playoffs. So it's just, it's huge when you qualify. Queens was the third team out of the OUA to qualify. They lost in a disappointing matchup in the semis to Toronto, but they bounced back and answered fabulously in a win over Brock to earn their spot here. And so now you're just riding that excitement to get to play here on this stage.
Yeah, Queens, it was very interesting. It was they were very disappointed. They got swept by Toronto, a team that they had beaten. So and then it was such a quick turnaround to play in that bronze medal game. And that's an emotional roller coaster, isn't it? You're playing for a conference championship. You don't succeed, but then you realize, oh, we've got to get up emotionally again for another big game.
Absolutely, a huge game with a spot at Nationals on the line, and they did a great job there. And through playoffs, it was interesting with Queens. They rotated in a few different players that we hadn't seen as much of in the regular conference. So, and we're seeing some of them get the start tonight as well. Other players like Lachlan McBride that we saw more in the regular season will not be starting right now. He's been replaced by Derek Chang, who saw some good time through the playoffs, and he'll get the start here again tonight. And again, in the middle with Dax Tompkins getting the start for Queens. He was more the third middle blocker that we saw just rotate in at other points in the year, but he's getting the start. So how much video that Alberta has watched on some of those players, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they can bring an extra spark to the team.
Certainly the unknown factor between these two teams, with COVID really limiting scheduling for both of these squads as we're just about ready to get underway. It'll be Cam Kern, 6'4" setter from Edmonton, who will get the proceedings going in quarterfinal number 2. And how about we start off with an ace, 1-0 Alberta.
Just tagging the end line there. That's the kind of way you want to start the game. That gets your confidence rolling.
So Kern, a skywards look. Right-handed serve is another big serve. Back-to-back aces. Good attempt by Lucas Kaufman, the libero, but boy, good start for Alberta.
Well, brought even more heat on that one. You could see his confidence building with that second serve. He just buries it in front of Kaufman.
So you know why Alberta chose Cam Kern to serve. Clips the net here. Short set for Cole Duncanson.
Duncanson connecting. It's a good pass, allows to tee up the quick attack. He's got 2 blockers on him, but he goes high and hard off the hands of the blockers and earns Queens their first point of the match.
6'9" is Duncanson. Sixna, the first server for them, and that one will sail just long. So a quick side out. So second server for Alberta will be the 6'6" middle Graydon Weeb from Sherwood Park, Alberta. Into the net from Max Elgert.
There by Max Elgert. Yeah, he tried to get a swing off on his own, goes up, tries to turn on that ball and just doesn't clear the tape. Gives the easy point over to Queens.
So big Cole Duncanson out of St. Catharines, Ontario, arts and science major, floats one over. Big hit on the left side. Isaac Heslinger.
Well, and that's a name we will hear a lot. So impressed by his rookie season here. He has become an offensive leader for Alberta, really stepping up when they lost their previous offensive leader back in January, Braden Friesen. He went down to injury, but Isaac Heslinger has done such a fabulous job of stepping up when needed most, and he was 4th in the country across playoffs for kills per set, really doing just a fabulous job of producing on offense.
Derek Chang serving after that service error by Heslinger. 4-3 Alberta in the early going. On the right side, nice dig, Kaufman. Across and a tremendous block. Ben Moffitt looked like he got up to deny.
Well, and that was Dax Tompkins standing at 6'8", who does a good job of just getting his hands out, but to try and close when he was late to the party. But absolutely fabulous job by the setter on the outside to get that block.
All tied up at 4. Another serve opportunity for Chang on the right side. Delivering the goods is Heslinger.
Heslinger just mixing things up there with an off-speed attack. When the set was a little bit too tight to the net for him to get much else done, he finds a way to score.
Heslinger back to serve for Alberta. Go far side and kept alive by Alberta. Great work. Gable couldn't quite finish from the back. Sixna denied. Gable will try again off the block. He gets the job done. Queens staying with it on that point.
Some great perseverance by the Queens defense. Sixna denied out of the back row, but it's kept alive. And on the second attempt, it's Gable on the left side who goes high off the hands of the block.
From the back, great play by the libero Kaufman to just even try and get to that. A lot of power generated.
Well, it's that fast pipe ball from Heslinger. Elgert loves to run that combination. The block is held with the middle in the front row, and then Heslinger just comes on over top.
Billy Johnston out of Gisborne, New Zealand, serving for Alberta. And Alberta showing off their defense with the combination of Dynam and Kenham.
Well, they read the ball well, going outside to Sixna. The block was ready and waiting for him, and he can't get that off-speed attack through.
Set on the right side. Alberta scrambles to get it over. Set for Sixna, and Alberta scrambling. Chang well played. Oh, open hit. And delivering Kenham. 8-5 Alberta.
Second time lucky for Jordan Kenham. The first one comes right back to him. An overrun pass, and he crushes it off the head of the block and out of bounds.
Kenham at 6'5", 230. Goodness me, built more like a football player. A misfire on the serve by Sixna provides a service ace and a 9-5 lead for Alberta. All done with Billy Johnston serving. Good scramble by Johnston, but that will sail wide, and on the side out, Queens will happily take the serve back.
Well, now would be a good time for Queens to try and establish themselves at the service line, put some pressure on Alberta, and go on a run. Alberta sitting with a 3-point lead. They want to try and play some catch-up volleyball now.
Dax Tompkins out of Kincardine, Ontario, serving. And the defense
Big
from
block
Queens.
there.
Sixna.
A big block. They read that one so well. Sixna shifting back, getting all over that ball from Canham. And Duncanson in the middle. He closes on that one, pushes it right back down on Alberta's side.
Tompkins on the serve. Service error. It'll go back to the Golden Bears. They lead 10-7 over Queens in game number 1. Jordan Canham. Tried to use a big serve, but looked like it was about 1.5 feet long. So back to Queens it goes.
Just a little too much on that one, and it can't find the end line.
Ben Moffitt. Short set in the middle, and boy, Duncanson there again for Queens. But in that kind of net joust, Alberta.
Cam Kern coming up with the kill. It's a fast set to the outside. He's got the one-on-one block against Chang, and he pushes it off the outside of his hands.
Back we go to Cam Kern, who started off with big ace in the first couple of points. And how about another ace from Kern?
Some great movement on that spin serve. He just picks his spot right in between the receivers.
Clips the net. Short set and thundering it down, Cole Duncanson.
Well, it's the first time we've seen as big of a swing as that from Cole Duncanson so far this game. He gets the one-on-one block, and he sees his opportunity, cuts it very hard back to position 5.
Sixna to serve. He clips the net. Short set, and goodness me, that was buried by Jacob Dynam.
Well, Alberta looking to answer back after that Duncanson attack with a big, quick middle kill of their own, and Dynam delivers.
Great defense by Queens. They have an opportunity now. To the far side, what great scrambling play by Alberta, particularly Dynam and Canham.
Fabulous rally to extend that. Alberta was on the defensive the whole time, just trying to get something over the net, but in the end, it's Queens that makes an error on the scramble play and gives Alberta some reward for hustling after those earlier points.
Alberta looking very good in the early going. Gable getting it over, and too much power from the Alberta Golden Bears in the early going. They've got a 15-9 lead and are ready to head into the technical timeout in good shape.
Well, that's Isaac Haslinga on the outside again. But look at how many one-on-one block opportunities that setter Max Elgert is right now getting for his attackers. They're just isolating a lot by holding that block, and it's really making things a lot easier on those outside hitters.
So we will head into the technical timeout after the misfire by Cole Duncanson. Alberta looking good. They lead Queens 16-9. And a reminder, you can catch the championship final of the 2022 Cavendish Farms USPORTS Women's Hockey Championship Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on cbcsports.ca and TVA Sports. Busy weekend of USPORTS. It's volleyball, there's hockey, there's a ton of things for your viewing pleasure. And, well, Emily, how about this start here, Alberta versus Queens. What are you talking about in the technical timeout of your Queens?
Well, if you're Queens, you're definitely trying to reset in terms of your blocking game plan, because right now, particularly in these last couple points where Alberta has surged ahead, Queens is getting lost on the block. They're holding in the middle, which isn't a bad thing. Alberta has some strong middles, but then they have to be able to release quicker to the outside to not just give off the one-on-ones, because attackers like Hesslinga, Cam Kern on the outside, and Canham out on the right side, they're just carving around when they only have that one blocker against them.
Kern on the serve. Cross court, Chang with his best moments of the game so far.
Chang was that attacker that we said didn't get the start as much through the regular season, but they brought him in, subbing in for Lachlan McBride into the playoffs, and he did a great job, particularly in their win over Brock, and he does a great job with that attack there.
Too much power and too much Isaac Hesslinger so far. He delivers again for the Golden Bears.
Well, and look at the angle on that one. Queens does a better job of getting 2 blocks out on him, but Hesslinger has great vision. He sees where the block is, and then he just cuts it so sharp back to position 4.
Well, that was good work there by Queens to keep it off the net and be able to get the points.
Yeah, it looked like that pass might have been starting to sail over the net, but a great job there by Moffat to tee it up just with his one hand and make a play.
Matthew Hedden able to finish. Chang on the serve, and that is long. It's going right back to Alberta. And I know you as a former longtime player involved in the game, service errors are just frustrating.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I mean, you have to go in with a certain amount of aggressive play, because an easy lollipop serve is not going to get you anywhere, especially against a team like Alberta. But at the same time, you got to be able to produce and get them in and really weigh out those times of when you're going for it and when you're playing it a little bit safer.
Shane Gable with a tremendous amount of power off the block to get the serve back over to Queens. They've got some work to do here in game number 1, trailing 18-12. Short set. Looked like
so fast it was hard to see. That's Billy Johnstone, second team Canada West All-Star. He's got such a heavy ball when he connects on those quick 51 attacks, and he does it there. He's having fun out there.
Well, he's 6'7" and 230 pounds, so the Golden Bears football program might be looking to recruit him.
Big swing out of the back row from Queens as Alberta just got lost there. Cam Kern fighting on the middle attack. He doesn't see that it's coming out of the back row. Love to see Queens try to mix up their offense like that a little bit more. It works fabulously there for them.
Cole Duncanson able to finish for the Gales, and here's Dax Tompkins, 6'8" middle from Kincardine, floating one off the net. Short set, good defense by Duncanson. Right side, goodness me, Jordan Canham. They might have to do some floor repairs after that one.
He finds some room down the line. The block was caught inside, and he just crushes it into the open court.
Canham on the serve. Canham with the ace. And Alberta's 4 points away from a Game 1 victory. Timeout called by Queens.
Alberta certainly starting to run away with this set.
Well, yeah, we talked about Queens in the technical timeout, so let's talk about Alberta showing a lot of power. I'm not saying to intimidate at this level, but certainly to show who's boss so far.
Well, absolutely. And, it's interesting that Alberta did not have any individual player in the top 5 in kills per set. so far this season, but they led the nation, they led Canada in 13.29 kills per set. It just goes to show the depth they have and the different options that they play with on offense. And that is absolutely quarterbacked by first-team All-Canadian Max Elgert, their fifth-year setter. He's the hardest worker there on the court, according to Coach Brock Davidoff. He says he's always in there putting in the time, and you can see how skillfully he mixes up the balls. He goes outside. He's not relying on any one player. He just does a really great job of varying up the offense, and it makes it very difficult for their opponents to know who to block.
That one is long. Didn't touch an Alberta player. So 22-13 for Alberta. So our first look at Liam Espedido, 6'10", Emily, 213 pounds.
And just in his first year, he's a rookie.
They'll set it up for Espedido. Lefty, goodness me, what a dig by Kaufman. But Alberta will get the point. Well, Espedido showing off a different look as he went southpaw.
This is the first time for Espedido, obviously being in his first year, to step on the court in a national championship, and that was his big first swing. He did a great job of just unleashing on that one.
Alberta is running away with game number one. They lead 24-13. Another ace from Canham, and he looks to close out Queens and put Alberta in flight. And not a bad gamble to go big when you've got several game points to play with.
Several, absolutely. They've got 10 right now. So he tries to take a rip on it, go for the hero ace, but makes the error, and it will go back to Queens, and it will be Benjamin Moffat, the setter, who will serve for the Gales.
One of 5 Queens players who are in the arts and science program, and Alberta finishing off game number one with Cam Kern.
Just again, another example of mixing up that offense, bringing in the different attackers. We saw Cam Kern putting up a number of points, Billy Johnstone in the middle, Canham as well, and then of course Isaac Heslinga out there on the left side and a couple from the back row, really mixing up the offense, and a number of players producing for Alberta. They are showing their pedigree there in the first set as they take that one 25-14.
Back with, we'll take a short break. Back after this, you're watching USPORTS Volleyball, brought to you by Mikasa on CBC.
They don't do it for the likes or for the shares. They do it for the fun of it, for the thrill, for the camaraderie, for the memories. CBC Sports, just because they love it.
Cette manche vous est présentée par. This set is brought to you by Mikasa, le ballon officiel de USPORTS, the official game ball of USPORTS.
Alberta 25, Queens 14 in game number 1 as we get ready for game number 2. And Emily, a demonstration of power and diversity. Queens got to correct a couple things for set number 2, or what are you looking at for them?
Well, Alberta certainly came out with some strong serving, and that made things difficult for Queens to get too much going on offense. A number of service aces from Alberta, and Queens wasn't able to set up being able to run their quick middle attack. We saw a couple of big kills from Cole Duncanson in the middle, but I'd love to see them get the other middle involved too, and being able to diversify their offense the same way that we saw Alberta do. So definitely that serve and receive game. Tougher from the service line from Queens, and then trying to start to learn from some of the tendencies of Alberta's servers to be able to do a better job on the serve-receive side.
Queens to serve. And it looked like it might have clipped the line. An ace for Queens to start off. Nice work by Ben Moffitt.
Well, they need some points like that, some easy ones from the state of things where they don't have to go back and forth with a rally, just a clean service ace.
Off the block, job was done by Cam Kern, so Alberta on the board in game number 2.
Queens made the right read on the block. They got 3 blockers over on that one on Kern, but the hands not pressing back inside enough. Chang's hands facing outside the court, and that's where the deflection goes.
Kern on the serve, and that provided a lot of trouble for Queens in game number 1. This one, though, into the net, so on the side out, back over to the Gales. Eric Sixna, the first team All-Canadian. Great dig by Sixna from the back. Alberta using a little finesse. Great defense by Alberta. It was a wall, and it looked like Hesslinger got the block for the point.
Well, tremendous rally as Queens was given a few chances there to try and close it out. But Hesslinger all over, perfect read on the block as he goes up against Chang and gets the stuff.
Graydon Weeb on the serve. And it's going to be an ace as Gable doesn't make too many mistakes, but that one he couldn't handle.
Well, it was a jump float serve coming from Weeb, pushed deep and flat into that back corner that Gable can't control.
Weeb will try again. Gable. Great save there by Moffitt. Good net battle for the two teams. Short set and a diving play by the libero Kaufman.
A really
good strong rally.
Fabulous effort on both sides. Some hustle plays, but it was Gable who had a few swings to try and close it out, and it's great he doesn't get frustrated. He just looks for different angles. He goes hard and high off the hands into that deep corner.
Duncanson into the net, and back it goes to Alberta. Tough when you get a little momentum, Emily, after a big point like that on a long rally, and then all of a sudden it's a service error.
Absolutely, and Queens is a team that really likes to try and capitalize on that momentum, the big plays, the energy, so it's very deflating when you go back and blow your serve.
especially when Max Elgert for Alberta follows it up with a big ace. He is the only fifth-year senior listed on Alberta's roster. Queens has two. Lucas Kaufman, the libero. Joel Rudd, outside hitter who we haven't seen yet today. Gable showing some finesse.
And just finding a way to score, even when the ball isn't perfect. He's looking for different shots. That one, it's an off-speed tip that finds the open court.
6'6" Derek Chang. Looks like he's loading up with like a bowling ball when he serves. And that one into the net. Back over to Alberta with a 6-4 lead in game number 2.
Well, and so far in this set, that's just been the difference, is that serve and pass game where Alberta has been able to put up a pair of aces. Queens, on the other hand, has been putting up a couple of errors, and there you see the difference.
Great diving play by Kaufman. Gable looks to reward him, and it's into the net. (7-4) Alberta, as Hesslinger doing the job on the service line. Gable straight up in the air, out of our view of the camera. That's how powerful that one was.
I'm pretty sure that went off a head. Yeah, indeed, it went off Billy Johnstone's head as he came in for the block.
Nice play by Gable. Set up for Duncanson. He's going to claim the tip. Didn't win the argument, though.
Yeah, Queens was looking for a touch call on that one on the attack, but not seen, or perhaps not at all a thing, as it sails out of bounds and gets the point for Alberta.
Johnston. A misfire. We've seen a few service errors, a few more in the second than we have in the first. 8-6 Alberta leading after a 25-14 victory in game number 1. Dax Tompkins on the serve, and back we go to Alberta. Not fun calling service errors, Emily, I have to say.
No, it's not, and I'm sure it's very frustrating for the Queens coaching staff, because every time they try to get something going, whether it's taking advantage of an error on the Bears' part or a long rally win, we've just seen too many service errors from the Gales.
Alberta matching them error for error the last few times. It's another error. 9-7 Alberta now with the lead. Ben Moffitt, hometown player out of Kingston, puts it in play. And my goodness, Cam Kern puts it down.
Well, the set was right there for him on the tape with no block in sight. Daniel Chang got fooled. He was inside. He was already jumping and down. Cam Kern crushing it down the line.
Kern has certainly made himself a focal point for Alberta so far. Service game, and with his power, there's an opportunity for Alberta here. Great defense, though, by the Gales.
A little bit of a redemptive play there by Chang. It was Chang coming across from the left side. Chang, who had gotten fooled on the previous play and failed to get the block up for Kern. This time he gets hungry, comes across the net to close as the triple blocker, and it pays off.
This time, Hesslinger able to power it through that defense. Jacob Dynam from Barhead, Alberta. Fourth-year science student on the serve. That one deflected around. It looked like it clipped, Gable's head or the back of his head.
And I think perhaps as a result, they were calling 4 touches against Queens on that play, and the point will go to Alberta.
Alberta starting to pull away a little bit in game number 2. Back it goes to the Gales after Dynam finds the net. Big Cole Duncanson will serve.
Just a lot of errors and not good errors. Ball's going into the net off of, easier float serves as well. That one not even close to clearing the tape.
Max Elgert. Able to get it over as Chang. And a bit of a misfire there, unexpected by Jordan Canham. So it'll go back to Queens.
Yeah, it looked like Canham had a lot of room to work with. He didn't have the block up against him, but he misjudged, I guess, his depth from the net and pushes it into the tape.
Back set across. From the back, big hit there from Sixna.
I like what Queens is trying to do, bringing in that back row attack. Sixna did not have the block on him. He had some open court, but he just isn't able to execute.
Gable.
Gable certainly looking for hands on that. There was no other option for him, I guess, as he tries to just aims for the ceiling and tries to catch some fingers, but he doesn't do it.
Yeah, that one will take it to, I believe that technical, it's listed as 15-10 as the score, so I don't know if it's a timeout or a technical timeout, but the best in men's basketball action take to the hardwood next weekend in the USPORTS Men's Basketball Final 8 presented by the Westin Edmonton. With upsets abound in the conference playoffs, who will capture the WP McGee Trophy. Find out next weekend the USPORTS Final 8 Men's Basketball Championship on cbcsports.ca and CBC Gem. And Queens hoping to get a little magic that their basketball team did by upsetting the best team in the nation, the Carleton Ravens, to book their spot to that national championship. This version of the Gales, the men's volleyball team, up against Alberta, and Alberta opened the door a crack with service errors, but Queens, Emily, unable to take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Queens, unfortunately, they've had some great play in the longer rallies, extending the rallies, trying to find a way to score, but they've really been hurt at the service line, both in terms of Alberta putting up a few aces, and then again, them not able to produce and put Alberta in any kind of trouble with their own serve.
Great play by Queens after almost going was Pierce looked like going on to the other side, which you're allowed to do.
Absolutely, if you stay outside of the court and bring it back outside of the court as he does there, he sets up Sixna for the pipe ball, who just squeaks it through Alberta's block.
So Queens mounting a little bit of a comeback here in game number 2. Gable on the serve. From the back. Hesslinger. Straight across, it's Duncanson. 16 to 12.
Was trying to call for some hands. Big swing by him, but just narrowly misses the fingers of the Alberta block, and that will take us to the technical timeout as the Golden Bears lead 16 to 12.
So correction, it was just a timeout that was called before, and then now we are at the technical timeout. Emily, it will give us a chance to chat, of course, your work with Momentum Volleyball. To me, it's starting to demonstrate the popularity of this game and the need for this wonderful game to get more mainstream attention, because it's a great spectator and it's a great TV sport, isn't it?
It's such a fabulous sport. You know, I've had the opportunity to commentate at a couple of Olympics and Canada Games, and when people get to tune in and watch, even people that generally don't watch volleyball, are like, that was so exciting. It was so fast. It was a lot different than the volleyball I played in high school or elementary school. And absolutely, it's a very different game at this level, and our USPORTS teams at such an elite high level of volleyball that you're seeing here. A lot of these players play on the Canadian junior national team, youth national team, or even our senior men's team, and will go on to play on our senior men's team. I know fifth year graduating senior Max Elgert certainly has his eyes and goals set on representing Canada. He's one of the best young setters in the nation. So it's really great to get to bring this game to more and more people. The coverage being there so people can access it and get to know these players.
So Alberta, thanks to Jacob Dynam with a set right in the middle, takes the first points out of the technical timeout. And here's Billy Johnston, who's loving life and having fun. Great defense by Queens to scramble and stay in the point. With pace, Cam Kern, and it looked like the libero Lucas Kaufman couldn't get out of the way.
Well, Queens may have scrambled to stay in the point, but they gave over an easy ball that set up that very quick, fast attack out to Kern on the outside.
Opportunity for the Golden Bears on the short set again. It is Jacob Dynam with the delivery.
Well, Alberta has come out of that technical timeout looking very in control, to the point where we're going to see another timeout called by Queens. They want to try and slow this momentum, where Alberta really looks like they're taking off some easier balls that have been coming over the net towards them. And the Golden Bears are just teeing up some fabulous offense.
Because you've covered a lot of the game internationally, Emily, where is Canada in respect to kind of the world's elite when it comes to indoor volleyball, both either on the men's or women's side?
Well, it's actually been really exciting to see the rise of Canadian volleyball, particularly over the last couple of Olympic quads. You know, our Canadian men's team has now qualified for the last two Olympic Games, placing fifth both in Tokyo and Rio. And, you know, our women's team has such a bright future with a ton of younger players that are playing in some of the best pro leagues over in Europe right now. And so we're just going to see more and more opportunities. Both our women's and men's teams are in Volleyball Nations League, which is coming up. In fact, Canada is hosting women's games in Calgary and men's games in Ottawa, and that will have them playing against the best teams in the world. But Canada's certainly in the conversation of those elite teams. We're also seeing it, of course, on the beach side, where our beach Canadian teams, our women's teams did so well the last two Olympic Games too. They're in the mix and winning world championships. So Canadian volleyball is certainly making some noise.
Jacob Dynam providing the last point for Alberta to take them to a 20-12 lead, and now there's going to be some clarification needed on this call, as it looked like Lucas Kaufman wasn't happy with the fact that the point went to Alberta.
Billy Johnstone has been serving for a while now, looking very comfortable on the service line.
from the back, and that is Cole Duncanson, 6'9", coming at you with a big finish.
Yeah, he loves that D-ball attack. He was drifting to the outside, but he cuts it past the block, back in that cross-court angle.
Dax Tompkins on the serve. And Queens desperately needing a run and not getting any help from the service line as Alberta's 3 points away from a 2-0 lead. Jordan Canham for the Golden Bears. A deep breath, a skyward look. Good defense from the back by the libero. The lefty back into the swing of things, Esposito. That violation will go against Alberta.
Alberta's block perhaps getting a little too aggressive on that one. You can see the net is just shaking after the previous play.
Ben Moffat, first year, Faculty of Arts and Science. Flips the net. Well, he just loads it up and swings. Liam Esposito had 2 attempts to finish, and the second one, no mistake was made.
No, and he does a good job of changing up his angles. The first one, when he tried to go the cross-court angle, he stopped at the net. This time he turns on the ball, finds the open court down the line.
Alberta 2 points away from a 2-0 lead, and that serve goes long. Opportunity for Eric Sixner. It's long, and there are a number of game points Alberta can work with, 9 to be exact.
Alberta subbing Graydon Weed back into the game. He'll head back to serve. He's got a jump float. Made an error one of his previous attempts, but he'll try to close out the set here.
Another one playing for the Canadian junior team. Delaying game number 2, Cole Duncanson, this time operating from the middle.
Duncanson has been one of the Gales players who has been consistently producing on the attack, both from the front court, front row and back row as well.
Short set, and it is 2-0 Alberta. Billy Johnston sends one from New Zealand with love. And Alberta looking good, up 2-0. They win 25-16 in game number 2. You're watching USPORTS Volleyball, brought to you by Mikasa on CBC.
The nominees for the Dale Iwanoshko Award, who exhibits outstanding achievement in 3 areas, volleyball, academics, and community involvement, are Les candidats pour le prix Dale Iwanashko en tant qu'étudiants athlètes qui se distinguent dans 3 domaines, le volleyball, les études et l'implication dans la communauté sont du Réseau du sport étudiant du Québec, from the RSEQ, Scott Mann, University of New Brunswick. Du sport universitaire de l'Ontario, from the OUA, Amit Sayal, Western University. Et de l'Association Ouest canadienne, from Canada West, Darian Picklick, University of Winnipeg. Le lauréat du prix Dale Iwanashko pour l'engagement communautaire est, the winner of the Dale Iwanashko Award for Community Service is, Darian Picklick, University of Winnipeg. Cette manche vous est présentée par. This set is brought to you by Mikasa, le ballon officiel de USPORTS, the official game ball of USPORTS.
Alberta up 2-0 over Queens, 25-14, 25-16. Steve Clark along with Momentum Volleyball's Emily Castanet. And Emily, I mean, you know, not often you get a performance that this dominating so far in a national quarterfinal.
I mean, it's always interesting when these conferences come together and you're not quite sure how they're going to square up. Alberta and Trinity Western have been the top 2 teams, you know, consistently in Canada West. They play each other time and time again. They've got a real rivalry going, and that's because of the strength of those 2 programs. And so, you know, Alberta, you knew it was going to be tough for whatever team ends up playing them. And Queens, they're the 3rd team coming out of the OUA. They've had a bit of uneven success through the playoffs and have actually mixed up their lineup, trying to find that lineup that works. Right now, they're going with first-year setter Benjamin Moffat, who wasn't their regular setter through most of the season. Instead, they were usually going with Liam Wilson. So that's a first-year setter who's stepping in and trying to play such a pivotal role for the Gales right now. And so, yeah, their backs are definitely up against the wall, being down 2-0 against, you know, a team that's as established and looking so confident out there as the Alberta Golden Bears.
Cam Curran again starting off the serve for Alberta as we're underway in game number 3. It's hit long and Alberta up 1-0. By the way, the rest of the schedule, it is the host and hometown University of Manitoba Bisons taking on the top team in the nation at Trinity Western. And then the last game, an intriguing matchup, will feature number 4 Toronto and number 5 Sherbrooke from the Quebec Conference. Queens right now, nothing to lose. Lachlan McBride is checked into the game. 2-0 Alberta as we start off game number 3.
Yeah, Lachlan McBride is a player we haven't seen as much from in the playoffs and the postseason, but he was a staple for the Gales throughout the regular season play. He was replaced earlier by Derek Chang in the starting lineup, but he's stepping back in to start the 3rd set.
Eric Sixna will be the first server for Queens after that Cam Kern's serve went into the net. Set up on the left side. Nice dig from the back by Sixna. And then a big block up front. Point for the Golden Bears.
Well, the Alberta wall of Hesslinga combining with Weeb in the middle, establishing the block, get the point for Alberta.
And Weeb right to the service line. Quick start for the Golden Bears. Good work there by the Gales. It looked like Zigurds Litsis checking in with the point. back set and finding a hole. Jordan Canham, who was playing a wonderful game.
No block up on Canham. They had bit on the middle and they weren't able to jump again and get their hands up in time on Canham, who came flying out of the back row.
Elgert with the serve. It's a good one. Handled by Sixna. He looked to finish and couldn't. Or, sorry, that's Likas again. And then down the line. But missing, so it's 5-2 Alberta. Alberta playing like they've got early dinner plans in Winnipeg right now, as that one does go into the net and back over to Queens on the side out.
Well, these teams have been coming off a pretty intense playoff schedule. They have played so many games over the last couple of weeks and just quick turnarounds with travel. Alberta was just out in Langley playing in the Final Four, and then they turn around and they're back out in Manitoba. So I think, yeah, if you've got the chance to close it out in 3 and have a shorter game, you're taking it.
Great dig by Tompkins in the middle. Could be an opportunity here for Alberta. Short set. Queens defending well. We'll call the violation, so the point, Alberta, and just to build on your point, Emily, in Ontario, such a condensed schedule with the pause in the season and the rescheduling of games. It was a very busy back half of the season in Ontario. Hesslinger on the serve. Duncanson from the back.
I think Duncanson has perhaps put up more attack points from that back row D ball than he has even connecting in the middle in the front row.
Ziglitsis from Louisville, Kentucky has made a long journey to get to Queens on the serve, and right down the line is Jordan Canham.
Max Elgert just really liking setting Canham on that back set. It's a quick one right all the way out to the antenna, and Canham drives it down the line.
Billy Johnston's had sort of a smile or a grin on his face all game long. He serves for Alberta. Duncanson again.
Duncanson has the hot hand there on that back row attack, and they're feeding him the ball. Just a crushing kill.
First year of eligibility, Emily. I'm sure he's on a lot of national radars here. Cole Duncanson. And that one, just way too much power.
Alberta answering back with a back row attack of their own. This time it's Hesslinger. Comes screaming out of the back row. Has a ton of room to work with. Only one blocker barely getting their hands up there in time.
Hesslinger from Orangeville, Ontario. Canham on the serve, and it's a service ace. And Alberta starting to take control of game number 3. And that will force a timeout by Queens. I don't know if there's a way to describe Alberta. They're just machine-like in their precision, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, they really are. They look very disciplined, and you know, I've harped on it a couple times this match, but the way that Max Elgert is running the offense, he has just tremendous vision as to where his players are. He really moves that ball around well, and it just makes things very difficult for the Queens blockers to track and try and read where it's going.
Well, in the game tonight, Trinity Western taking on the host Manitoba, you have to say it would probably be one of the biggest volleyball upsets known if Manitoba can take that one. But, as they like to say, Emily, there's a reason they play the game, so busy night of volleyball coming up tonight as well.
Absolutely, and of course Manitoba will have that home crowd behind them. They also weren't part of the last 2 weekends of playoffs, so they had time to rest, whether that will benefit them, time to fine-tune, certainly time to prepare. They probably could have kind of guessed early on that they would maybe come in that last 8 seed and be playing the number 1 seed, so a lot of time to prepare for a team like Trinity Western.
Opportunity here for Alberta. Let's see what Queens can do. Good attempt and good finish by Sixna. And just to finish that thought, I'm not sure if 2 weeks off watching Trinity Western videos is a good thing for you, but hey, it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight.
They should be well prepared in terms of game plan, if nothing else.
Moffat on the serve. Net jousting, and that is won by Max Elgert of Alberta.
Elgert versus Sixna at the net, but it was the one hand of Sixna going against the 2 arms of Elgert, pushing it down and winning the point for the Golden Bears.
Into the net. And there haven't been too many mistakes from Cam Kern from the service line. 11-7 Alberta. Sixna back on the serve. 6'6" in his second year out of Markham. It looked a little bit awkward from the beginning, and as a result, Queen's able to claim the point.
Well, it's a net violation against Alberta, and that's what you call forcing the ball, as Elgert was pushed way into the back row, but he still tried to force that fast, quick attack to the middle.
Big serve by Sixna, but strong finish down the line. Canham delivering.
Canham liking that angle down the line. We've seen him go to it time and time again as the block does not get all the way out there to the antenna to try and put up a bit of resistance at the net.
Floating serve by Dynam. Great defense at the net. Looked like it was Hesslinger who got his hands on it.
Absolutely, Hesslinger doing such a fabulous job, and we talked about he's just in his rookie season, and the composure he shows on the court. We've seen, the attacking strength, but the plays like that, setting up the block so well, just doing a fabulous job.
Queen's
Alberta
able to get the slide out.
Just called on the foot violation there. So foot violation on the serve. They touch the line, and the point goes to Queens.
Duncanson. Well, it's an ace. With a little kiss off the net.
And a rare ace we haven't seen. We haven't seen too many service aces from Queens.
About the time in game number 2 where Queens started to push back against Alberta before Alberta took control after the technical timeouts. More great defense there by the Golden Bears. You can see their bench is just loving the defense.
That was a huge stuff block there by Billy Johnstone. Max Elgert set the block in a great spot. They're closed, pressed over the net, and it just goes straight back down on Queen's side.
Elgert to serve. It goes long. Or did they call that an ace? They put the point up on the board for Alberta. Now they take it away. Chang back in. And he gives it right back to Alberta with a serve that goes long, and Alberta looks to take us into the technical timeout if they can get the point here. We kind of got this in game number 2, Emily. The teams just trading service faults and errors back and forth. Ziglitsas will send us into the technical timeout with another service error. Alberta looking to close out Queens. They're up 16-12 in the third and 2-0 in the match overall. And next weekend, Canada's top women's basketball players head to Kingston, Ontario for the USPORTS Final 8 Championship. Can the Saskatchewan Huskies defend their title, or will there be a champion? Find out next weekend. The USPORTS Final 8 Women's Basketball Championship on cbcsports.ca and CBC Gem. And Emily, with Alberta up 16-12, it all went sideways for Queens after the technical timeouts in Game 2, and I'm sure Gabriel de Groot, the Queens head coach, is reminding his team of just that.
Absolutely. After the last technical timeout in set 2, it was Billy Johnstone back at the service line who put up a tremendous number of serves, and Alberta just really took over. They looked very calm and confident. They got things rolling on their offense, so that Queens is going to try and stop that, try and get point by point, get this first side out, don't let them go on any runs. And it's interesting seeing the two head coaches right now for Alberta and for Queens, both relatively new and younger in this role. Both coaches have taken over for legends in the sport, established coaches, but both of them finding success. Gabriel de Groot, of course, taking over for longtime head coach Brenda Willis, and Brock Davidoff stepping in and taking over for Terry for Alberta, and he's still on the bench there giving some guidance, but it's really great to see this next generation of coaches coming in.
Definitely legacies of excellence, certainly set up by both of these programs. So great points that you're making too about the transition and some of the great coaches we're seeing up and coming in the sport of volleyball. Chang. Or no, that was Tompkins, it looked like, excuse me. Actually, let's try it again. Sixna with the point.
Sixna looking to touch some hands on that. He thought he touched some hands, but they call it the Bears' way, and it will be Alberta's point.
Back over to Queens on the service error, and it's Dax Tompkins. Small town of Kincardine, Ontario is his hometown. Arts and science is his major. Good diving play by Chang. Power by Sixna, and the All-Canadian shows why he was a deserving winner.
Well, great to see that cross-court power brought out by Sixna, who's been a little bit quieter in this match so far compared to his usual starring role. We've seen other players like Cole Duncanson step up offensively.
Tompkins' serve was well long. Alberta starting to maybe cast an eye towards the Calgary Dinos in a semifinal matchup. They're 6 points away.
Well, and that will be a matchup they're very familiar with.
Back over to Queens, who are desperately fighting hard to stay in the championship side of things. They're up against it. 25-14, 25-16, the scores in the first two games. Here's Ben Moffitt. And they bring in the lefty, Esposito again. And Queens able to fight through the Alberta defense and serving notice that perhaps they could creep back in. Expedito. Well played by the Gales. They've got a lot of fight left in them.
Well, and you can just hear the noise from this team and their bench. They're getting fired up. They're trying to ride this emotion, and no better play than a big stuff block like that to really get your team fired up.
It'll force Alberta to call a timeout. I mean, Alberta, Emily, doesn't strike me as a team that looks too far ahead, but sometimes you can get a little bit looser than you'd like to be, and Brock Davidiak realized that and called the timeout. Smart timeout by the coach.
Yeah, and the first timeout Alberta's had to use so far this match, but Queens absolutely is trying to claw their way back in. The deficit just now at 2 points, and they're trying to ride some energy. So even sometimes just calling a timeout to try and reset, try and make the server think about things a little bit. I mean, that is a first-year setter, Benjamin Moffat, who's back at the service line. See if the nerves will get to him.
A very youthful looking first-year setter. Nice play by Moffat from the back, and oh, what a great reaction by Curry, the libero. Curry again diving. And it's a long rally, and it's going to go to Alberta. We thought they had the point. The referee thought otherwise.
Just called on the net violation there was Eric Sixna, which is really too bad because, what a play that would have been, what momentum carried off of a long rally where both sides were fighting so hard. That would have been a huge point for the Gales to come away with.
Instead, they face Cam Kern, who service has been a little bit more inconsistent in game number 3 as he gives it right back to Alberta. Or Queen, sorry. So Sixna with a deep breath. Another long rally. Alberta looking for hands, touching that. And it's Queens' point.
A rare error by Hesslinga as he sends that one long. Just lands outside the end line there. And Queens has pulled within one. This is the tightest set we've seen so far this match.
That's good work from Hesslinger. This time he buried it. 21-19.
Well, fabulous answer back after making an error on the previous point. Makes no mistake on that one. Finds just a little bit of room between the two blockers.
And Graydon Weeb back in to serve for the Golden Bears. Big block and big defense at the net. And Alberta is 3 points away from the semifinal.
An error there by Chang that can't find a way as he tries to cut it down the line. It hits the tape.
Queens using their last timeout. Here they trail 22-19, and boy, you made a great point, Emily, about that long rally when it was 20-18, I believe. Queens gets that point, it's 20-19, and I think things get a lot more nervous. Alberta got the point and a little bit of momentum back.
Well, I mean, the Queens at that point had been riding some momentum. They had the previous point, had just had a huge stuff block. Then they extend the rally with a long, exciting rally. Yeah, if they can finish that one off, they're a team that really thrives on that emotion and could build off it. But certainly to have it end on an error, a net touch violation, takes a little bit of wind out of your sails, and Alberta has reestablished themselves now here in the third set as they look to close things out.
Weeb puts it in play. And a miss hit in the middle from Duncanson. 23-19. Alberta on the precipice of a semifinal with Calgary, and 5 match points to work with.
Well, service ace for Weeb as he drives that jump float deep into the court and handcuffs the serve receivers. He will try to close things out now.
Delaying things is Ziglitsis with a big hit. And Queens will not go gently into the good night.
We're going to see a serving substitution here for this point as Cole Duncanson will take a seat, and coming back into the game, Shane Gable, he will serve now.
Alberta can finish it off, and they do. Symbolic of how they played the game, Billy Johnston. It's a sweep for Alberta, and it's a Canada West matchup in one semifinal, 25-14, 25-16, 25-20. Alberta will go on and face Calgary tomorrow in one of the national semifinals. Emily, command performance by the Golden Bears.
Absolutely. Alberta looked in control from start to finish of that match. They just really outworked and outplayed Queens in pretty much every department. From the service line right off the bat to begin the game, they put up a couple of service aces and just kept Queens back on their heels, where they were never really able to feel like they got much momentum going. Alberta now will face Calgary, a team that they have played all season long and a team that has beat them. They have traded wins back and forth in that Alberta conference. So it'll be very interesting to see who comes out ahead when they face each other in the semifinals.
Yeah, no secrets between those two great programs. We've lining up for the players of the game, the Mikasa players of the game, presented by the Nike team. You know, you credit the Queens Gales, fine season that they had. And Duncanson, well-deserved, Emily, is the player of the game for the Gales.
Absolutely. He was the player who consistently produced for them offensively, had a great, some great plays out of the back row coming in through that D-ball, as well as some fast plays through the middle.
You could have picked any one of 5 or 6 from Alberta. Max Elgert, the fifth-year setter, will get the Mikasa Player of the Game, as presented by the Nike team. And so, Alberta and Calgary, you say there's no secrets between the two teams. Calgary battle-tested with a tough 4-set victory over McMaster. Alberta sweeping Queens. Do you have a favorite for the first national semifinal tomorrow? It's going to be a great game. That's we know.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a tight one. I mean, I still think things favor Alberta when they've been in this position. The depth of their offense, how Max Elgert runs that offense, I think they'll come out slightly ahead. But Calgary seems to be peaking at just the right time, too. Particularly in the second half of the season, they have really pushed teams. They've really made Alberta work, and they've taken some wins away from Alberta. So I think it's going to be a very close one.
So a quick word on the Queens Gales before we sign off, Emily. Off to the consolation side, they will face McMaster. What do you tell a team that kind of has to now switch their focus and go to the consolation side of the bracket. You lose maybe a little bit of energy and intensity, but there's still volleyball to be played.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in that position my first year at UBC. We lost in the first round too, and certainly having to refocus, in this do or die scenario when you're out of the tournament, you're out of the running in the sense for one of those medal spots you were gunning for is difficult. The Queens will have to reset. They'll be back in a room together probably by this evening, watching game tape of McMaster again. They didn't get a chance to play McMaster in any kind of OUA final. They lost to Toronto and then played Brock for their spot. So I think there's going to be perhaps some excitement of trying to go toe-to-toe with the OUA champions that Queens will have to try and, get up for.
And those are words of wisdom, not only from a UBC player, a UBC Hall of Famer, Emily. Don't sell yourself short, Hall of Famer.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes.
So we wrap it up here at the IGAC. Canada West has booked half of the semi-final with the University of Calgary knocking off McMaster, University of Alberta knocking off Queens. Later on this evening, we've got Manitoba taking on Trinity Western, and then closing out the evening, the 4-5 matchup, University of Toronto at 4, Sherbrooke at 5. For Emily Cordonnier, for everybody here associated with USports, the Men's Volleyball Championship, and CBCSports.ca, Steve Clark saying, good day for now from Winnipeg. And you have been watching the 2022 Men's Volleyball Championships on CBCSports.ca, brought to you by Mikasa.
USports on CBC, brought to you in part by les championnats USport. Vous êtes présenté par the Government of Canada, le gouvernement du Canada. Barron, exclusive supplier of USports Championship rings, le fournisseur exclusif des bagues des championnats USport. Nike Team, just do it, faites-le. Veriburn, medical supply partner of varsity athletics since 1979. Partenaire de sport universitaire depuis 1979. Fox 40, celebrating a decade of the Fox 40 USports Coach of the Year program. Fier partenaire des prix de l'entraîneur de l'année USport depuis 10 ans. Mikasa, l'étoile montante du volleyball. Le V200W, ballon officiel de USport. Mikasa, makers of volleyball's hottest star, the V200W, official volleyball of USports.